When two complete strangers ask you to fly to a foreign country just to go fishing, normally I would recommend ignoring that request. But if it happens to be these two, maybe consider it.
And action.
Oh God, no. No. I will throw you off this bridge if you do that again.
That was cool as heck.
No,
Cut.
it's cringy.
This is Tom and Shelby. One flies fighter jets and the other flies by the seat of her pants. And this husband and wife duo, they have quite the appetite for travel and a passion for fly fishing, not to mention being fly all season OGs. So it only made sense that we eventually try and link up for a crazy adventure. Now, even though talks of marble trout were tempting, I never made it over to Italy. But over the past few months, we kept in contact, and these two just so happened to be making a cross-country road trip through the western United States. I don't think we could have realized all that would transpire at the time, but I suppose that's the point of a trip like this. This is going to be a few days fishing and exploring Teton, Yellowstone, and everywhere in between. Hordes of eager headlights cut through the darkness as the clouds danced in the scarlet of another Yellowstone sunrise. We quietly geared up in anticipation, and I couldn't help but think of an old expression. Red sky at morning, sailors take warning. Red sky at night, sailors delight. My mom would never fail to repeat this mantra on morning drives to school. But since we were mere idiots without an ocean in sight, surely this wasn't applicable. So I shook off the notion of potential trouble to follow, and instead, the silhouettes of three familiar strangers grew more distinct with each step across the tallgrass valley. Our trip had officially begun. Now, some might call these days dog, but the mornings here in the mountains were still rather cold, so this knee-high trudge was the perfect way to shake off the cold breeze and get the blood pumping a bit. We meandered for a while until we found some water worthy of waiting, and each step away from the rush of the road helped to numb the sound of passing cars to nothing more than a low drone. Nothing that the sound of moving water and morning chatter couldn't overpower. Now, despite the slight bite carried by the lazy breeze, it didn't seem to deter the resident biting bugs from buzzing any and all exposed skin. A healthy layer of bug spray was required before we could comfortably set in for the morning session.
Which sucks. I'm holding this down.
Bruce Buffer rang in my ears as Tom approached the first run of the day. It was indeed time. Now, even though Tom and Shelby have done their fair share of fishing, most of their fly fishing as of recent has been relegated to highly regulated waters with a more European model of outdoor management. With Tom being stationed in Italy, marble trout rivers in Slovenia were the favorite weekend destination for this pair. Now, by no means am I saying this water in front of us was better. It was just different. These western waters here in the United States provide their own unique set of challenges, so I did my best to offer up some advice without being too pushy.
That's why I'd swim. Just because you put it there.
Oh!
Thomas!
Yo!
Thomas!
They're here! There's fish!
Thomas!
That's a good sign. That's a good
You
sign.
need TikTok because then there's a lot of memes. You just,
Am I missing out on memes?
yeah, you're just missing out.
So I'm getting
meme-
past
the meme phrases.
like a spent Busch Light can
Yes.
on the highway,
Absolutely.
like a loser because I don't get 3 second. How long is TikTok?
Some are 15 seconds, some are 16, some are 3 minutes.
Oh, hey, good save. All right, I'm gonna add one more thing to what you're doing here. I'm loving all of it, but just one little thing, it's a mend. So I'm gonna cast in there. I'm gonna keep my rod high. I'm just gonna kind of bounce it. I'm just gonna kind of bounce it along like this. See my line, my floating line staying up and off, and that drift is clean as hell. And that's kind of what we want to shoot for.
Honestly, we're probably pretty good until like 2 is when the first like little raindrop.
Little blip comes.
Yeah, and depending on like how it develops, obviously.
Maybe we can use that as our transition time too. Ooh, nice. Good man. That's it. That's what I'm talking about.
I don't teach well. Thank you for teaching me.
A fish would have been nice, but those bites were a great sign. So it was time to move upstream a bit and see if Shelby could break that skunk.
On our side, like in that little V-cut, there was somebody hanging out.
There's a big boy that I saw like actively eat something.
You guys can come over here and work this.
No, you're there. I'm not gonna step in the mud hole again.
No, we're about to catch a big one over here.
Yeah,
Not a big deal.
Just say the word. I've got the dry dropper right here. If you feel so inclined to switch her up. Well, and that's the thing is if you feel like you've worked this sufficiently on the top of the water, let's go into the water and try and dredge them up. With the first few holes being suspiciously quiet, Tom and Shelby, well, mostly Shelby, needed to see some more concrete proof that fish actually existed in this river. And maybe more importantly, she wanted to know that I knew what I was talking about. So, with the sun finally gracing the valley, I was kindly asked to step up to the batter's box and make a meal out of Shelby's mangled bits.
Let go. Holy hell in a handbasket. Let's go. Nailed it. Let's go.
Not only did this fish break the skunk for the day, but this could arguably be one of my best fish of the summer. This caliber of fish was nothing short of a shock when I set in for the ensuing fight. And with what little information I could actually scrounge up, I figured there was at least a chance at a nice fish, but never would I have thought this beast of a Snake River cutthroat would be my first fish of the day. So needless to say, I was quite relieved to see this fish kick back strong after that hard fight. But with that, I think a bit of context is needed. Let's take a second and talk about the bits. The mangled bits, that is. The technical angling definition goes as follows. A run or pool that has already been fished through without a single bite. When used in a sentence, it goes something like this. I don't think fish exists in this river. Would someone else like to fish my mangled bits? So, running the clock back a bit, we can see Shelby's fatal mistake just a few minutes prior, when she elected to let me fish her, and I quote, mangled bits. With that now out of the way, we all continued upstream in a leapfrog sort of pattern. In my opinion, this is the best way to approach a stream when fishing in a group. It allows everyone a fairly equal shot at productive water, and the further up we got, the runs increasingly looked better and better. So realistically, it was only a matter of time before one of us would offer up the perfect drift to the right fish. Through the power of dumb luck and mangled bits, it just so happened to be me. Again.
There's another one. The birds, they have death wishes.
They see a big fat bug. Nice, that's good. That's good stuff.
Sheb, do you want to try? You want to go for it? Mike, you want to go for it? I mean, dude, go for it.
Michael.
Dude, let's go. You're in, dude.
What's your middle? Mangled bits, Tom. Mangled bits.
Let's go.
I think it's on, or it should be on.
Do you want it over there?
Usually I like to have a static view, and then once I get it to the net, because I've got this going right now too, so I can switch back so it's like, it's looking at you right now, but then it's also looking at me. And I'm being such a jackass with this fish. It's a nice fish too. Come on, sweetheart. Let's skate you over here. Oh, my buddy Sam is gonna be so happy. This is the fly he tied me.
Nice. Thanks, bro.
That's a big shout out. Shout out, Sam.
Good job, Sam.
Dude, son of a bitch there, bud. Another healthy fish there. Slip it back in. See ya.
Belly flop.
What a belly flop.
Shout out to the dog, Sam.
The dog.
That's awesome.
Thanks, big dog.
I traded him some FAS ADDs for these big old stoneflies.
Yeah.
He uses on the Upper Rio down in southern Colorado. That's I think that's my first fish on it, so that's very happy.
Nice,
I'm
dude.
very big thumbs up.
They'll be like good friends. Yeah.
Okie doke, folks.
Dude, nailed it.
Fishy knocks, yes.
Or if that gets running, you're like, dude, it's got to run deep.
Oh yeah.
With like the energy that it produces with some of the shallower
Yeah,
parts.
it's really ripping. What do you think, Slake?
I don't know.
On the next one? I don't hate that cast. It's not a bad cast. A little shallow, but I don't hate it.
Dude. Is that just me or something kind of nudging it?
Well, you
Couldn't
see
tell.
this
Maybe
shelf
it's
there. It could be that shelf nudging.
Dancing on it.
Just giving it a nudge.
Ooh! No, dude. They're hungry. You'll be right. You'll be right back. You'll be right back.
Too deep.
I think so, and it moves too much. I don't know. And if it's the same spot again, then I'm just gonna call it quits, and me and this fish are just not gonna get along.
That's fair.
I think it is bottom.
Okay.
It's the same.
Tom walked on ahead a bit while Shelby and I worked this really solid bend. And based on what little data we had gathered this morning, there must have been a fish in here. But other than some unruly waterfowl, there was not even a sign of life, which was extremely disappointing. And understandably so, frustrations were starting to mount a bit. Getting skunked is not exactly why you road trip across the country to meet some stranger from the internet.
Hey fish, you're gonna bite this one. This one right here. That's good.
Try and get that like a foot closer in that fast stuff. Nice. I like that. Let that ride.
I think something just came up that didn't bite it.
So you said something Karen kind of looked at it?
I think so.
Mm.
I couldn't tell though. It's hard to tell the water versus the fish.
Sure. The closer you can get to the grass bank, the better. Like that. That's right about middle of where you want it. Nice. Nice, 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 nice. Just concentrate on getting that puppy in. I have you net. Don't worry for a second. Oh, gosh.
Come on.
Oh boy, we're really playing with fire here.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thomas.
Very nice. Your fish. I'll take that.
Hello, my friend. You're so pretty.
You're a sassy one, aren't you? And you're a slimy one, too.
Okay, gonna get some close-ups of the fish here. Oh no!
Oh, it's gone.
He gone. Sorry, I messed it up. Good stuff. Just have to catch another one.
It's a sassy fish.
Oh!
Well, Shelby's fish flopped back, and even though it was great to get the skunk off for her, we could all tell this spot had about reached its shelf life. The sun was now hot, and looking at both directions, we could see meandering heads from other anglers approaching us fast. So we gave it a few more runs in the hopes of Tom finding himself a nice fish, but there was a very good chance that these cutties were now hugging the bottom and wouldn't come back out to play until dusk. In angling, knowing when to hold them and when to fold them is very important. And I could tell it was time to fold them. Luckily, Tom and Shelby felt the same way, so we figured we might as well get out of Dodge while we were relatively ahead. And spirits were still high, but I could feel the slightest bit of regret starting to sink in on my end. This is just one of the many potential issues with going to a brand new place to fish. Books and articles can really only get you so far when researching a new spot, and I will say, after some buddies found out where we were fishing, I was told that this was in fact a quality over quantity type of stream. Bites were supposedly few and far between at times, but if and when you do find a fish, they tend to be big. It sucks to know this after the fact, but it gave a bit more explanation to the morning session we all had. But in the moment, as we all crunched across the valley, lunch was the only thing on our minds. The double-edged sword of a piece of water like this is that it is so close to the highway, but it was now working well within our favor. Tourist traffic was now spilling out of Jackson at a very high rate, and it was getting crowded by mid-morning. We had to dodge a few bikes once we made it back to the path, but this was a relatively short hike that got us back to the truck in no time flat. Plan A had worked out well-ish, I would say, but luckily I had a few more potential tricks up my sleeve before the day was done. It was time for Plan B. Peanut butter, honey, and pretzel sandwiches were gripped up as we added ourselves into the thick soup of tourist traffic coming out of Teton and Yellowstone. While we all hit a midday post-lunch energy lull, I was a bit anxious about this Plan B, and I couldn't help but let my mind drift back to a conversation from earlier this week. Yeah, that's no problem there. I was just doing some, for whatever reason, and you know, who knows what GPS goblins are doing this, but it's taking me all the way around, like through Jackson and up and around, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to do that. So, people are passing through Grassy Lake?
Yeah, it can be slow going. Going around like through Jackson might actually be quicker.
Really?
But yeah, because Grassy Lake, I mean, it's not a heavily maintained road.
No, that's fair.
Slow.
That's fair.
So yeah, if you're going to Jackson, if you're coming like front to our area from Jackson, it can definitely be quicker to go out and around on the paved, highways than going through Teton and then over to Grassy Lake. Through Teton and over Grassy Lake is more of an adventure.
The nice park ranger lady was not kidding. It was quite the adventure, but luckily that's exactly what we were looking for. So, with an hour or so on gravel, we left all the grand traffic and the yellow belly crowds behind us, and we were now well within the heart of the Cascade corner of Yellowstone National Park. The hike in, it wasn't hard by any means, but since we were deep into grizzly bear country, I could tell everyone was just a tad bit on edge, and on top of being a bit anxious of bears, I was also slightly worried about the lake. Destination was another book recommendation with little to no first-hand knowledge, and my apprehension continued to build once we actually arrived. There was considerable deadfall along the subpar trail that actually circled the lake, and this made moving along the bank rather difficult. So, on top of slow moving, it seemed as though this lake was extremely shallow, and we saw a lot of amphibians. In my mind, this was already strike one and strike two for a productive high mountain lake. In my mind, moving is key when it comes to finding fish on these kind of lakes. Finding structure like drop-offs or reefs can make a massive difference in a day of fishing. Also, don't get me wrong, I love seeing frogs, but when you have them in an alpine lake, that means they are able to reproduce and survive every single stage of their life cycle without getting munched by a big nasty trout. So usually when you see one, you tend not to see the other. But by some miracle, we did end up seeing a few fish rise, and we figured we might as well give it a cast.
That was closer.
Man, the boys are buzzing.
Yeah, this is
They decided to.
I was pretty downtrodden, to say the most. I was pretty upsetty spaghetti from my Italiano friends coming all this way to get clapped by the non-fish lake.
I mean, they're there. I also see pouring down rain just over that hill.
yeah, I was looking at that too. That's fun, isn't it?
At least the bugs go away.
Well, that's true, just as long as the lightning stays away. Let's try and make hay while the sun shines. So with this, I like to go very slow, just like very tick, tick, tick. And if you start feeling the bottom, which you shouldn't, but if you do, just speed up your take a little bit more. And the roll cast is gonna be your best friend. The line should be good enough to really let it get out there and play with it too. So initially just cast out there, strip it in. But if after like 8 or 9 retrieves you don't have anything, give it like a 5 count or give it a 10 count. Let it sink. Let it drop. Yep. And then, if you're getting bored, change up your cadences like strip, 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 pause, strip, strip, pause. Those are pretty much the commonalities that I've found with this style of fishing. And after a brief lake fishing 101, Shelby joined the lake line as we all nervously watched the clouds grow. A serious mountain squall was building up in front of our eyes, and it was only a matter of time before we saw the first sign of lightning, and, funny enough, of fish as well. Oh, hello. Did you guys see that? Wait for it. Yeah, that was a pretty nasty little strike of lightning.
Well, it's hard to tell your fear of lightning
Oh, Tom is on. Tom is on. Keep that thing tight. High and tight. High and tight.
I'm coming. I'm coming. Ooh.
That's what I was saying. Waiting on that.
Well, Thomas might have just ended that one for us.
Yeah, skunk is off, baby.
Can you walk this way? You still have it.
No!
No, it's alright. That was a fun little fight.
No!
Oh, dude, it's alright. No.
How big did it look?
Oh, he's just like, oh no.
When did you notice he ate? How far in did you strip?
It was probably like 5 yards away from me.
That's it, huh?
Yeah.
So he was following it.
Yeah.
That's good. How you feeling with that rig? But is it great? Is it everything you could have hoped for and dreamed?
I mean, I'm standing in wet pants, which is everything I feel like.
Do you want to switch?
No, after I already dried off. That's just...
Dude, weren't you the one that said, wow, that's really refreshing?
It is. No, it's great. I'm not complaining.
Whoa.
But I'm standing in wet pants. You said that was fun.
Yeah, I guess that is just an observation, huh? Oh wow, it gets much deeper, much faster over here. I think this might be our drop off.
The wave started to whitecap as the wind from the front really picked up. Shelby, she was not a fan of the approaching thunder, and realistically, I couldn't blame her. The wall of rain was coming in quick enough to see noticeable changes in direction, so Tom and I, we gave it a few more half-hearted casts before we reeled up and shuffled back to base camp. To say this lake was a disappointment would be an understatement, and that's really no fault of the lake. We didn't give it all that much time, and we were only able to fish one bank, so I can't say that the fishing was terrible, just where we were fishing, it seemed to be terrible. Plus, with the approaching storm, our time was cut much shorter than anticipated. So, adding all that up, this hike out was somewhat somber. On my end, when I have guests come to visit, I want them to get the maximum enjoyment out of their trip, and as the host, I feel like I dropped the ball in a major way with both Plan A and now Plan B. Even after we got off the trail and back into civilization, there was no amount of diner food that could quell the thoughts of doubt for the following day of fishing. As I laid down on the air mattress of the Airbnb, I thought back to the prior weekend's failed adventure. A storm, much like the one that had chased us off the mountain, barreled through the eastern side of Idaho and into the western side of Wyoming the night before I was supposed to go fishing. It managed to blow out every single major river and tributary in the area, which resulted in a big fat skunk on my end. And now that I was staring down the barrel of day 2, I couldn't help but feel a bit unsure of what to do. I really wanted to put Tom and Shelby on some good fish before they had to leave for Glacier National Park, and after a fair bit of furious scrolling, I landed on a creek that just might work. It was the last one in my bullpen that probably didn't get hit by this wicked storm, so as I drifted off into sleep, my fingers were crossed in the hopes that tomorrow's option would turn the fishing side of this trip around. The 5:30 departure was an absolute luxury compared to the white-knuckle nightmare of yesterday's 3 a.m. exit time, and I usually don't like to say this, but we kinda deserved it. After all the running around we did, we were all whooped. We needed a bit of extra sleep to let the diner food binge digest and to rest the legs from that fast pace. And a later start, it's always a risk, but landing at the empty access point, we rigged up with no real sense of urgency. The Teton morning was calm and quiet, and no other vehicles, farmer or fisher for that matter, graced the gravel road.
So we're gonna be hiking that a ways, and then we're dropping down, and we're gonna be in this canyon all.
Even though we weren't all that far from the river, it would still require a decent hike to get down there. And to the common eye, the uniformity of the hayfields glistening in the grand morning splendor might lull one into a false sense of security. Town is right around the corner, and the farms are frequented by their tenants. But with the Tetons looming in the distance, it would be a disservice to lower your guard. This watershed, and others like it, are still very much wild, and between the elements and the critters, the unprepared angler could be in for some serious trouble. I was contacted via Instagram after this adventure and alerted that some folks staying in a cabin along this same river spotted 2 separate grizzly bears loping down this river corridor. It might seem a bit overkill to always carry the bear spray on my hip, but these are the kind of risks you have to assume are always going to be waiting for you, even on the outskirts of grizzly bear country. Luckily for this trio, we were able to shuffle down the trestle without bumping into a bear. However, we did bump into 2 subscribers who were just starting their day on the water as well. So if y'all are watching, it was awesome to talk to you guys, and I hope you had an amazing day on the water as well. And in the hopes of keeping a fair bit of distance, we gave them some space and shot upstream quite a ways before we decided to wet our lines and start fishing hard.
Oh, hello.
He's just a little guy.
Yeah, that's a good boy. It is always weird getting that, hey, you're foul season. Because then it's like, which way is this going to go? Is it like a f you, or is it like, love the videos? Yeah, which way is this going to go? Let's go. Let's see the bounty. You can open your hand, man.
I can't. He's gonna fall out.
Good.
Beautiful.
Is off.
Alright, flag, buddy. Come on, you can do it. Are you still there, bud?
Yeah, he's just chilling. It's a great flat caught fishing. Its flaw is after it's like a one and done, they get sunk, either a bite or a fish caught with tends to sink.
I thought he fell out. He was so little.
Maybe not the same one also.
Alright. I would say I found that long hook was pretty good. If you can high stick it up and over that main seam and that that looks disgusting, dude. Try and long bomb one good cast up into the top, and then we're gonna switch out with a dry dropper, okay?
Okay.
Nice.
Did he just go through?
Oh no, he did.
Oof.
Rats. All that work. With now 2 fish out of our first run, Tom was up to bat, and as if on cue, the curse of the camera kicked in. I missed the initial hook set, but Tom sent in a stellar cast with an even better drift in order to land this beautiful cut bow. That spunky fish flopped back, and we continued on upstream. I was informed that it was now my turn to fish. There we go. With that well-placed ant, the group skunk was now officially over. And again, I'm not quite sure how I was getting so lucky, but this was another fantastic fish. This was definitely the caliber of fish I'm accustomed to at this creek, so seeing it kick back strong was purely icing on the cake, and it felt necessary to explain to Shelby and Tom why I like to fish ants in the morning. It's, I don't know if you guys can tell on our walk in, but the grasshoppers are very slow in the mornings, but ants are very busy. The ants are always working, and that's why I find the ants are a very good morning pattern. Towards the afternoon, it kind of tapers off because I think the fish have bigger targets to go after, so they're like, I don't know.
More calories.
Yeah, so they're going for those higher calories, maybe not paying attention, but this is like, it's like a little Pop-Tart, a little nice Pop-Tart in the morning. On top of seeing plenty of other bugs throughout the day,
One of the coolest things we witnessed was the entire life cycle of stoneflies, and not sure the exact species, I would just simply call them Yellowstones, but it was amazing to get to see their nymph stage, the husks on the rock, and then finally the big flying adults. But after bothering the big bugs, we continued with our leapfrog pattern and moved upriver. Now, I'm not sure why Tom and Shelby weren't getting bites, but it hit another lull. They were landing their flies right in the money, but once again, it hit quote unquote my turn, and I managed to connect with my second fish for the day. I hate to repeat myself, but again, these two were fishing hard without much luck. We were throwing the exact same flies and working very similar approaches. My only guess is that I was keeping a bit more distance, which allowed for better stealth, and I can't imagine how something like that would deter these opportunistic western fish, but at this next run, my hunch might have received the whole third time's a charm confirmation needed to potentially change up the whole group's tactic.
So if we just go back up the river a little bit, there's another trail.
Oh yeah?
Like back where we came from, there's just a little trail.
Yep. Let's go.
Guys, I tried my hardest on the last
You did a great job! You did a great job!
I mean, I tried my hardest. I don't know what you want.
Yeah, but then the problem is finding that road again.
I can show it to you. It's really easy.
Okay. I believe.
I have good directional sense, don't I, Tom?
What a beaut. What an absolute beaut.
I guess it's one of our turns now.
Huh?
I guess it's one of our turns now.
Do you want my minced
That's
bits?
Well, mid-morning has been a struggle, but that's probably our best fish of the day. This is the caliber I know is in this river. It's just, yeah, it's been tough. We've been fishing them hard, and it's, I don't know. It's a grind. We're trying so hard. But I think it's time to get this guy back.
Well, I'm going to show it to you so you can tell me. So, back this bend, it's like where those dudes were, kind of. Maybe a little bit. But there's this trail that goes up, and then it just shoots back across, back to the bridge.
You gotta be careful because that was on private. So we're just now skirting into BLM land, but that would have been owned by.
So the trail is down on that point.
Preemptive skedaddle.
Because there was no clouds, and then that one started moving. Not that that's anything right now, but it's moving.
You don't need that.
No, I don't want to get flooded out. It's saying thunderstorms likely after 6.
Yeah.
Yep, with the percentage still at 2 to 3 p.m. is where it picks up.
Okay, alright.
But it didn't say thunderstorms likely earlier, it just said scattered thunderstorms. But now it says thunderstorms likely.
With caution steps, we had now well overextended ourselves. The bridge and trail were now well out of sight and would require quite the effort to get back to. If a storm were to hit, we could be in some serious trouble. So we all agreed this should be our last stopping point, and luckily for us, Tom made the most of it.
Let that lay down.
He won't. You on the rocky?
Hey, there we go!
That into it. Yeah, dude, the afternoon's turned around.
Let's go!
Because we're in the shade.
Okay, just getting some nice zoomies. Beautiful. Hold him right there for me. Nice pan of him. Beautiful.
You see that bad boy? Right over there?
You can probably hear it too.
Yeah, there's a line coming. So I think we should go home.
Not wanting to completely bail on the day, we kept a very close eye on the growing tower of clouds while we selectively fished productive pieces of water. This walk the dog tactic actually ended up being much more fruitful than anticipated.
That was a Yes, it's a whitefish! Yes! Oh no! No, I wanted to show you guys the coolness of a whitefish. They're so neat, but their mouths are so...
He's so aggressive right now.
Their mouths are so small. That's how we do it.
Trolling on feet.
Cover in water. That's what we do here. Now this, I think, is a whitefish. Oh! Oh no, it's actually just a really nice cutthroat. The drive-by, making it work, man. Good fish. Not a bad fish for a cheeky afternoon bite. All right, just gonna set him down right in here. All right, see ya. See ya.
Bye.
You gone. Good?
I could feel the pain of losing that fish, and unfortunately, there wasn't much he could have done. Most likely, it was just a loose hook set and it slipped out, and no question, that was the biggest fish of the day.
Hey, little guy. You want some water?
Alright, I'm ready whenever you are. Or I guess whenever he is.
Nope, no. Let's go that way.
Nice. That little fish would be the last of the day and, unfortunately, for the trip. We hiked back up and out of the river valley with just seconds to spare. Once we reached the truck, a fierce mountain squall tormented the area well into the evening. We made the right decision, but it was sad to think that the trip was now officially over. Well, folks, if you're seeing this now, that means I forgot to do an outro on the stream, and I do apologize for that. But the message still holds true. Thank you so very much for sticking around and watching this video all the way through. I hate to be this way, and I guess it's just the product of the platform, but with YouTube, the more time you watch, the more you like and share, subscribe, all this weird gobbledygook, the more it makes channels like mine grow. And it's been growing like a damn weed. And you guys, you OGs out there, and all you new folk especially, you're the reason this channel is growing so much. And all I have to say, as always, is thank you so very much. It really does mean a lot. And I hope as I'm talking to you in an empty kitchen through a microphone, I can emote this properly. But really, it does mean the world to me. So, folks, wherever you do find yourself, be it on some random trip with some really awesome strangers or in your backyard, I sure hope you keep those feet in the water. And until next time, Tetons.